family, like all this shit. And I was just like, that don't sound basic at all.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah,
Awesome.
My girl basic, I guess. Go.
I guess.
Something.
I was like, I'm basic. Like, what you are doing is not
No.
basic.
No.
Well, here we are.
All right.
We're live.
We're live.
Episode, I think, is it 23 or 24? I think it's 24. Yeah, episode 24. We have the Kettlebell, Kim Fox, here with us today.
That's right. Welcome.
Thanks.
It's good to be here.
Excited to be
Yeah.
here.
Exciting.
First guest on our new setup. So, it's still a work in progress. We got things to fill in and make a little bit better, but we got some big things ahead of us here at the Net Club.
We had a nice little break.
Are you going to be the comedic interface? You know,
Yes.
like.
Yeah.
He has the best questions. That's what it comes down to.
Okay.
Yeah. I have an advantage just because I have the computer over here to be able to refer to and whatnot.
Just as ChatGPT would ask me.
That's what I did. So
Preparation.
So my preparation would be taking your bio and then putting it into ChatGPT and saying, "Hey, I'm interviewing this person. Can you give me like a good question range to ask them?" And then good talking points when and that is what I did. And then I went through and I refined and here we are. So
I don't have an Alexa, but my friend does. And she's like, oh my God, Alexa knows who you are. And I was
Really?
like, what are you talking about? She's like, I just asked. And then it like brought up this whole thing on you. And I was
That's
like,
exciting. You made it. That's how you
I
know.
made it
Yeah.
like Alexa knows who I am.
Yeah, I just tend to wing it, Just like, let's just see what happens.
That's perfectly fine.
I just,
So, Kim, you want me to do a little bit of bio on you, or you want me to?
Yeah, you take it.
Yeah, you
Tell-
want me to take the
no,
reins on this?
just
Or do you-
don't make her brag on herself.
Yeah.
You do it.
I'll do a little bragdation here, and I'll put the camera on her so you can see her reaction as I do it. So
Hopefully I sent over all the right information.
I hope so. So I see you have a Purple Heart and a Medal of Valor here today.
No. This just went on like a stolen valor. Like,
just a twist.
Took a dark turn.
It's bad news. And they take that stolen valor seriously.
I don't know.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do, but I know they definitely did back in like 2002 or back when it was raging.
I think that, they still get upset.
I had a sponsored athlete once that was posting up, and he was, some sort of translator for, the military in Iraq or something like that. And he posted up about how he's working with them and all this stuff. And man, I got so many messages from these different stolen valor pages. This guy's just a bullshitter. This guy's lying. He never did any of this stuff. You take this guy down, don't sponsor him anymore. They had a post after post on their pages about this guy, exposing him and things like that. I'm like, I don't know what to do.
You're like,
I'm in a
he
weird
is an
spot.
actual athlete, though.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not
Was he?
sponsoring him. Yeah.
he was a real athlete, right?
Yeah, I mean, whatever it was. Not a real athlete.
I mean,
No, they're not really athletes.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I mean, I guess it's more impressive than bowling.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Bowling,
I don't
bowling
know,
is a
man.
sport, though. Like, who wins
Bowling
based off of the score.
Bowling.
So
is
when
impressive.
when Jake was in college going through his exercise science degree, throughout the program, like you do like different types of exercise testing.
Yeah.
And so they brought in the WSU bowling team
Really?
to like exercise test them. And one of the tests was just like a sit and reach test, where you sit down, there's like a ruler and you got to reach for it.
Like the old school, like tests in PE.
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
And so I guess the bowler comes in and he sits down there, like explain to him what he's going to do on the test. And like, okay, so you're going to sit down, and then when we tell you to go, you're going to reach as far as you can, on the ruler. And so the guy sits down, he puts his arms out, and they're like, okay, reach. He's like, that's it.
That's all.
So they had to add a ruler on to give him a negative score.
Really? That's bad. That's bad.
That is bad.
Yeah.
So-
I don't know. I was like, I'm not sponsoring
Based
this
on
guy.
that, I would say no.
Yeah. I'm not sponsoring
I
the
think
guy
they count
based off of
poker
these
as a
things.
sport now. So I mean,
Is it really? Yeah. No. I mean, bodybuilding was never a sport, in my opinion. It's, it's a beauty pageant.
It's modeling.
It's modeling, for sure. I mean, there's
No,
no...
but they didn't work hard, like
the work was before you got there, though. It's
Yeah.
a sport. The work is when you're there. I mean, you have to prepare, but when you're
That's a good point.
competing, you have to do things that are, competition, sacrifice, go all the way, that kind of
I
thing.
mean, you gotta learn how to like pose. I guess like that's like
Yeah. There's stuff to it. I mean, it's
I don't really know. I mean, obviously, I'm not a bodybuilder.
Yeah, it's almost
I've
more of
ever
a
been.
more of a science on like how you do carbs and water and like sodium and like how you make it look the
How
best.
strict you were on not eating.
Pretty much, yeah.
Kind of like a wrestler, a little bit almost.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a little bit like preparing for wrestling or making
combine
weight.
those two together.
So
Just who could flex the hardest?
almost. Yeah, basically.
That was my sport. I did, so
I can't tell.
I don't take any.
Was this some time ago? No,
It was actually, yeah, it was. My last real competition was 2015. That's almost 10 years ago. So yeah, it's been a while. No, I was crazy at the time.
So Kim, if I'm not mistaken, you used to be a combat medic.
Yeah, so I joined the Army back in 2003 as a combat medic.
Yeah.
Yep.
How'd you like that?
I loved it. I mean, I'm still in the Army, so
Yeah.
been in for like 21 years, and so yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I joined like right after high school, and my dad was in the Army when I was younger, and I never planned on being in the military.
Yeah.
Like that was not my plan
That's
at
how it
all.
goes. Yeah.
The military was not for me.
Yeah.
I had some softball scholarships, and that's what I was going to go do, for college. In my last year, my senior year, something came over me, and I felt like playing softball in college was just going to be too much work.
Okay.
It's just like too many practices, like tournaments and all this shit.
Yeah.
Military on here. We're totally
Absolutely.
Oh, awesome. Cool.
Yeah. Say what you want to say.
I mean, shit isn't really that bad.
It's not.
It's we just said worse.
Say motherfucker.
Flippin'. So, I just felt like it was going to be way too much work. So I decided that I was going to join the National Guard to pay for my schooling. So I came home one day and I told my dad, I'm like, hey, I'm going to join the military. And he's like, why? Like, why are you joining? Like, you have a scholarship, like and I was like, it's just going to be a lot of work,
Yeah.
and they're going to pay for all my schooling. And me being a dumb kid, like I didn't take in, I was like, National Guard, they don't go anywhere. And I enlisted like right after 9/11.
Okay.
Well, it was like a couple years, but right after 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically I enlisted, I went off to basic training, went to AIT, which is where like you learn your specific skill for the military.
Okay.
And so I went to medic school in San Antonio, which was a blast because they let us off on the weekends, which was a bad idea.
Yeah.
We got in a lot of trouble on the
I
weekends.
bet.
And I spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then this is back during the time period where you actually shined your boots in the Army. So
Okay.
you'd like sit down on the
They don't do that
CTA.
anymore.
They don't do that anymore. And
That's
so
too
you
bad.
spend forever like shining your boots so they're
Yeah.
super glossy.
Okay.
So I'm sitting down there shining my boots and mail comes. And so I open this letter and it's like, you've been mobilized. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? So I called my dad and I was like, hey, I got this weird letter that says I've been mobilized. I was like, what does that mean? He's like, you're deploying.
Oh.
And I was like, well, I'm not even done with school yet. He's like, well, when you get done, you're going.
Yeah.
And so I deployed to Iraq in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that was like what made me want to stay in the military longer. Something about it just went from being like this monetary benefit to something that I really felt like I was a part of and believed in. And so
was it like the camaraderie or like what you had to offer? Like, what was that you really drew you back?
So I think like you really get the full being in the military is like riding a roller coaster. Okay. So you spend all this time standing in line or training up to do like the job you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then you deploy and you actually do that job.
Yeah.
So getting to experience that and all the teamwork that goes into pretty much everything you're doing in the military, I just really like the aspect of that. I liked at this point, I hadn't realized this, but it offered an opportunity for like continued growth.
Okay.
And I think for a lot of people, we haven't even talked about who I am. Like nobody even
We'll
knows.
get there.
There's like
We'll get there.
a lot of people. I think that one of the most important things for like being happy is like personal growth.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people like get stagnant in that and they're like, oh, I'm depressed or I'm sad. And you're like, really probably like you don't have any personal growth going on. You're not developing yourself. Your mind's not growing. And so when you get stagnant like that, it's just really
nothing going for you, nothing to look forward to. Yeah. some sort of goal off in the future that you're actively working towards.
Mhm.
Is kind of like, what seems to make you happy, even though it seems like you're like not quite happy in the moment. But it's funny. I listen to these guys that are just, majorly successful. It's been years. I don't really listen to anymore, and they always talk about how the happiest times, like you're going to look back at like the struggle years as like getting started as like the thing that you miss the most, like being in a shitty warehouse or something like that. It's going to be what you really like because like there's that goal out in the future. You're working towards it. You're growing. And I think they make it at some point in time and then everything changes for them.
I think when you look back too, you only remember the really awesome stuff.
That's fair.
Like I don't think back because there's a lot of bullshit you got to do when you're in the military and you're like, this is dumb. Yeah. But when you think back on all the stuff that you did, you don't ever remember like those dumb things. You remember all the awesome shit you got to go do.
Yeah.
And so, when they're looking back, they remember like the fun times of like when they were in the warehouse, when they were like really working and like doing the build up, like to the creating, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there anything in particular in those times in Iraq or anything that really comes to mind? It's like,
so we were out in the Kerbala Desert, which is like Rolling Hills Desert. And we were there.
What country is this?
This is in Iraq.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure. I
he missed it. It's all right.
It's in Kansas.
I know. I know. He said Iraq, but I would just categorize the Middle East kind of like
the whole Middle East is Iraq.
It's Iraq, Iran, like Syria. They're all right there. It's
basically all so we were out in the Kerbala Desert, and we're with the Kuwaiti forensics team, and we were looking for mass grave sites. And so I was with an engineering company. I was a medic, and so we
just to clarify, mass grave sites of people. Iraqi citizens.
Yeah, Saddam was like.
Yeah. Okay. So you're basically like looking for evidence of like
you're looking for the graves
of the war crimes or the crimes against humanity of like Sudan or whatever.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to frame that because that's what I figured was happening, but to viewers, I wasn't sure if they were like picking up on that. So
that's okay. It was a while ago. People were like Iraq War. When was that?
Yeah, WMDs. Remember?
Yeah. So we're out there and we're basically have excavation equipment to like dig up and look for these graves. Anyways, but the really cool thing, there's a bunch of funny stuff that happened while we were out there. But the really cool thing when we got out there in the middle of this rolling desert, there's this like really small oasis where there's a spring that's coming up from the ground. And so there's no plants anywhere except for in this one small area that's got like all these reeds. It's got fish. There's like birds over there. Really? I mean, it's like this. It's not very. It's just but this little tiny oasis.
Yeah.
And then there was a camel herder that would bring his camels through to drink there every day. But we tried to let him like us to ride him, and he was like not interested in that at all.
Yeah, that's too bad.
So actually, while we were there, because we had. So the Kuwaiti forensics team was out there and they brought with them like a refrigerator truck. So they have like all this meat and then they would cook at night and they would usually invite us over to eat, which is where my lieutenant at the time.
They Kuwaiti dishes?
Yes, it was a lot of lamb.
Okay.
Straight camel?
It did not have camel.
Okay.
We have a guy that works for us that had camel. It's disgusting. You don't want to try it.
I would imagine it's kind of tough.
Yeah, he's like tough and like real like hard to chew through. I don't know, weird taste or something.
Yeah, they seem like they would be chewy.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it would be tasty at all.
I was just curious on like what the Kuwaiti food trucks were bringing in, like or barbecuing up at night,
Oh yeah, I mean they just like so every night they would cook. So the one day like my lieutenant, he was like trying to trade me for the food truck, it's for an ice trailer basically. And I'm like, sir, what the fuck, like he's like, look, he's like. You're going to go with him. He's probably already got 6 wives. You'll be the 7th. He probably won't even mess with you. You'll be living the rich life. He's a forensic doctor and you'll be good to go. Yeah. And I was like, this is so messed up. I was like, what are you going to do if somebody gets injured? He's like, we'll just throw him in the refrigerator truck. That's bullshit. Anyways, but that also during that time period was when was it called Team America?
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
World Police?
It came out during that time period. Yeah. I remember we were like sitting in a tent, watching it. And then like the Kuwaiti forensics team comes in. It's like, Durka Durka. And you're like, oh my God. You got to turn this off. But yeah.
So before you went into like being a combat medic, were you comfortable with like injuries and wounds, that kind of stuff? Or was that something you like adapted to as you grew in that career?
Find yourself as
Just
like
for you to love blood.
No, agree. But
like, are you the kind of person that like you rush in and you take care of the situation first? Has that always been kind of your personality? Like,
Yeah, I would probably say that.
Yeah.
That's always
I
kind
can
of
see
my
that.
personality. I'm
Yeah.
pretty like forward, I guess.
Yeah.
Some people would say bitchy.
okay.
I'm not sure.
some people
Some people would say I'm an asshole.
No,
Usually
I'm
I'm pretty direct.
I gotta be honest. Like you are way more intimidating than your husband. Like
People always say that.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
extremely more intimidating than Jake. Like I feel like that. Like you wear the pants for sure. That's the vibe that I get.
You know, me and Jake have a pretty interesting relationship in that, you know, we really don't fight at all.
Yeah.
Probably because you're gonna beat his ass, right?
It's because no. Normally it's because like I know if he's gonna argue back about something, like he really
Good old back.
it's really specific. Like he really
It's a big deal.
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I'll be like, okay, you know.
Makes
I
sense.
wouldn't say that I wear the pants. It's equal.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I've always been like pretty like hard charging.
Yeah, because like I've always interpreted you as like the gym enforcer, not Jake. Like
Gym enforcer.
Yeah. Like
You're the problem with a member who's
I don't-
who's going to deal with the problem is the question.
I don't think Jake usually wants me to deal with the problem because people think that I'm being like a real asshole about
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
But I'm
The
just
gym
being
enforcer.
I'm just
Yeah.
being very
there's-
very straightforward.
No,
about
there's a
it.
benefit to being straightforward and direct for sure.
Yeah.
I just always find it funny when people think like I'm like or they're intimidated by
Yeah.
me because I don't know that I feel like I do anything that's necessarily intimidating.
Yeah.
Other than I do have a pretty bad RBF.
Okay.
But I mean, and I guess maybe my face looks judgy.
Okay.
Do you feel like you're being judged?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
So are there
Do
like
you feel like you are judgy?
I mean, probably.
Okay, it's okay. I mean, I'm judgy as well, so you know.
I mean, and I guess I probably say stuff that's kind of sometimes afterwards. I'm like, oh, that was kind of a dick thing to say.
Yeah.
But then you're like, it's already past.
You know, it is
too
what
late.
it is. Yep.
It's too late now.
But then
Yeah,
you're like,
that's who you are, though.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is.
I mean, being in like the Middle East and Middle War for how many years?
Well, it was only a year.
I mean, still,
yeah.
anyway, you're around a bunch of guys anyway, and like you know, you got to be pretty cutthroat in the first place. So it's
I know, because you guys are assholes.
yeah,
Sure.
no, we are 100%. Like, there's no doubt about that.
So, funny story just about this is the same thing in that one situation out at Carvalho. We had I think he might have been a specialist, just a really dumb guy. And he might hear this and he'll be like, that was me. So one night he stripped down to his underwear, cut the ass cheeks out of his underwear. This is such a soldier stupid thing to do. So out at this mission, we had the infantry that was guarding our position. They were like up on a hill.
Okay.
So he decided that he was going to strip down, cut the ass cheeks out of his underwear, and then he covered his underwear in glow stick. Okay.
So they would glow.
So they would glow.
Oh.
And then he put them on and he was like running around the encampment.
Yeah.
And like basically party boying everybody. Well, the infantry was up on the top and they're like, what's this light that keeps moving around?
It's a big ass lightning bug.
Yeah. So they came down off the hill, like kind of with their guns out, like what's going on?
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, his balls started burning.
Dude, that was my first
That's
thought.
what he gets.
That was my
I
first
told him, I was
thought.
like, dude, that's like a chemical. You have that like on
Yeah.
your dick, on your balls.
Yeah.
Like, this is not smart. And after about, it was like 10 or 15 minutes of him doing that. Like, he was like party boying like the Kuwaiti guys, and they were kind of getting into it. And I was
Really?
like, you might not want to do that because I think they're interested.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting time.
Yeah, dude. There might be a story when I was in like middle school or something. We were on the bus back from like a wrestling match or something.
Somebody took their clothes off on your bus.
No. Somebody put some like.
Of course.
No. I mean, I've seen guys like light up cigarettes in the back of the bus and all that, but like this kid put like biofreeze on his balls as like as a joke, and that was he had a rough next couple 5 hours.
That would be, yeah.
So that just reminded me of that story.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah,
Just
but
do
I think in
stupid
that
shit.
situation, like it's gonna be hot.
There's gonna be a problem.
You
Yeah.
know it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think maybe like he's an 8th grader and he sees all these like all this stuff on like
Jackass.
or Jackass or like the
that would
show.
have been the time.
Or they see like
or
or you're in 8th grade, you don't really know what like sex stuff is, and you see like this icy hot
Sex
lube
stuff.
stuff or whatever on like the Walmart shelves, and you're like, ooh, and then you just I think that's probably what he thought was gonna happen. On the back of the bus with a bunch of boys.
That'd be intense.
Yeah.
There's one of the newest Jackass. I don't remember. It was Jackass 3, 4, whatever one.
22,
we're on,
whatever.
Yeah.
And I turn it on just real quick and have one of my kids there, my oldest or something, and it's like this monster that looks like Godzilla that's like going down and it's busting down buildings and things like that. But you figure out very quickly that it's actually some guy's dick that they like painted green, and they zoomed in and it zooms out. And I was just like, all right, this would be the one part of Jackass that you've seen whenever you're in the room. I thought they were just going to be hurting each other and like doing dumb things, but
The normal shit.
Yeah.
the normalcy, but
Then
somehow it was the dick going
There's
down like
there's some
Godzilla.
of the volcano rooms where they paint somebody's ass, and then they like put like a scenery around it, like a train set and everything, like trees and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then they get like a slow motion video of them like blowing up.
Gross. Yeah. I was more into them just
The shit that
hurting
they used to
themselves.
let us watch.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for example, even just like Ren and Stimpy,
Yeah.
like back in the day, like that was such a like gross
It
like
was.
cartoon.
Yeah.
I mean, we're fine, and
Yeah.
that's what kids are missing
Yeah.
nowadays. I think.
I mean, like my
Is,
generation had
they're missing
SpongeBob.
Ren and Stimpy. Instead, they got TikTok.
Did you guys
Yeah.
have SpongeBob?
It is a little
Yes.
after us. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
That was probably like 13.
do you remember like the panty raid episode? It was no. So this is like
he grew up watching SpongeBob.
Yeah.
He's only like 25.
Yeah,
There's
so
a panty raid. I was
yeah.
like, that's probably a little bit.
yeah, so it's like Mr. or it's like a Patrick Mr. Krabs. I'm sorry, Patrick and SpongeBob are trying to convince Mr. Krabs to go on a panty raid with them, which
Yeah.
is basically they're going out and taking girls' houses and like
You
stealing.
might actually have to explain to
In-
people what a panty raid
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
because
yeah.
I don't think that's a thing anymore.
No, I don't think it is anymore.
Because people
So,
don't leave their houses.
no,
That's
yeah,
true.
exactly, exactly. So they're literally breaking into girls' houses, like stealing their panties, and they're like, "It's a panty raid, boys!" And
I
like
think
this
it would
is
be done
like,
like on a college dorm.
yeah. This is like,
Somebody's
and this
house.
is a kid's show.
That's like serial killer shit.
Yeah.
It is.
They end up panty raiding Mr. Krabs' mother's house on accident because they didn't realize it was her house because she didn't leave the porch light on or something.
Okay,
How
And
many
so-
times have you seen this episode?
dude, this is like notorious for our generation because of like it's like they made this for us. Like and then you have all this stuff coming out with like the Nickelodeon stuff where they have all
Schneider
Dan
and those
Schneider
guys,
and
yeah.
like all the kid actor stuff where they have all these weird videos
Now
of
you
people.
actually feel bad for Amanda Bynes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why she was so jacked
Now,
up.
See,
there's
wait,
a
okay,
reason why
wait.
she's so messed
So
up.
was Amanda Bynes big for you guys, like in your guys' generation? Because she was like a little bit before me.
Yeah, I think she was on the kids shows
Yeah.
when I was probably like 10 or
Yeah.
11. Yeah.
Yeah, she was starting to get big. She was in the movies and things whenever I was growing up. So there's a lot of them going on.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah.
Just to take it way back.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me, going from, let's say, overseas, transitioning back to civilian life, or like, because how long were you active, or I guess you're still active, right? Or you?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm in the National Guard. So most National Guard soldiers are part-time. So they work, 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summertime. So when I came back from deployment, you're basically on an active status and then you come back home. It's very strange. Some of the things like you don't think about that you get when you're here that you don't get like when you're deployed is like personal touch. Where you, for example, like your kids hug you, your wife hugs you,
Yeah.
you just don't have that in that military environment where you have like personal touch, like, which is a important part.
Where was your so you're married with a kid now?
I'm married. I did.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually married at the time. I did the thing that you're not supposed to do.
Where you like do
My
like a
husband calls
military
him Santa
hookup?
Claus. The Santa Claus isn't real.
Oh, okay.
I hope my kid doesn't listen.
Yeah.
Better not.
Oh shit. This is not for kids.
Okay.
My kids never
So
listen this
I
long
was
into the
actually
episode.
married when I was deployed. because I got married out of AIT, which is what you are not supposed to do.
AIT, can you?
That's a medical, or that's where the Army teaches you like your job.
So how old were you?
19.
Okay.
How long
did you guys date?
Were they? Were they awesome?
Well, only like 4 months because that's all the longer the school was.
That's why I was asking. My wife and I are very similar.
When you get down to school, they're like, you do not need to find a wife or a husband here. And so I started dating a guy there, and he was active duty, and so he was getting stationed at Fort Lewis, Washington. And so I came back home, and then he came to visit me. And when he came to visit, he was getting deployed also. Or sorry, I was getting deployed. He wasn't deployed yet. So we're like, oh, if we want to stay, we really should like basically get married. And so we went and got married. I did not tell my parents.
Really?
I got married in secret.
Yeah.
And then I didn't change my name so they wouldn't know.
Yeah. And
me and my mom are super close. So he left and he went up to Fort Lewis, and we were driving to dinner one night because I was, still only 19. So I was like living at home, going to school, going to college or whatever, or getting ready to deploy. And it's like my dad, my mom, me and my brother in the back of the truck, and we're driving and I was like, well, that's why John said he married me. And my mom whipped around so fast, and she's like, what'd you say? And I was like, oh, just like I didn't realize I had said marry me.
Yeah.
And she's like, you said that's why he married you. Are you married? And I was like, no. No, I'm not married. She's like, are you married? I'm like, yes. It was the most awkward, uncomfortable dinner. So then my mom was like super pissed. And so she like took me off everything. She's like, you're married now, so you can pay your own phone bill. She's like, you can pay your own car, your own insurance. Took me off her insurance. She's like, and she's like, you can take your car and you can drive it up to Washington. And she called me years later, just like a couple years later, and she was like, felt really bad that she did this. But so I was 19, driving all the way up to Washington State by myself. It's like a 24-hour drive from Kansas up to Washington to Tacoma.
Yeah.
And on the way there, like some trucker was like flashing his lights at me and trying to get me to pull over, and I'm fucking stupid. So I pulled over. I didn't get out of the car. Now I realize like there wasn't anything wrong with my car. Like he was like following me, like trying to get me to pull, and I did.
Yeah.
And then I was like, something's not right.
Yeah.
My car seems fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have been one of the missing persons.
I could have been like if I had gotten out of the car, because he was like pointing at my car, like trying to tell me like something was wrong. And I was just like, maybe we were just talking about this bears and the man.
Dude, this is a good.
And I just said you should pick the man because like
this is a good transition. Hey, that's perfect. Yeah, let's talk about this real quick. So I didn't even know what this like bears or man thing, or because people are putting stuff on their. They're like, I picked man or I picked bear or whatever.
I didn't know what it was either.
So can you one of you explain it?
So I mean, I guess the background is that people are asking women and men this question of, if you were going down an unknown path, would you rather come across a bear or an unknown man? And I'm like, fucking unknown man. But I guess a lot of women pick bear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you know bear can fucking maul you? Like, and you might not die right away.
Yeah.
I could at least probably defend myself maybe against a man.
Yeah.
Also, like I've come across, except for this one trucker, I've come across a lot of men in my time. And 99% of the time it's been okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Not every guy's gonna, mess you up like a bear will.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I think the better question,
unless you're BTK,
right? Yeah, that's true.
I think the better question is: would you rather come across in the woods as a man, a bear, or a blue-haired woman?
I
don't know.
You might want to pick bear.
Yeah, I might want to pick bear. I think I'd pick bear.
Feel safer. Feel safer. Good next to bear.
So tell us a little bit. So you're not only a combat medic vet. Medic vet. I don't know what I'm struggling with words here. Feel free to help me at any time.
I mean, you're struggling through it real good. I'm just
Okay,
trying to let you
okay,
know
okay.
He does great.
Okay, thank you.
If you wait long enough,
are you about to ask me about kettlebell?
Yeah, that's where I was going. That's where I was going.
When did you pick up your first kettlebell? That's the real question.
So after I came back from deployment, while I was on deployment, I started learning how to box. Okay. So there was a guy there who probably wanted to get in my pants or whatever.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah. And so he was teaching me how to box. And then when I came home, I wanted to continue doing that. So I went to Andy Zerger's gym. They had boxing there. And I asked the guy who was there to box. And he
Wait, is this where you met Jake?
This is where I met Jake.
Okay.
And so he told me, I don't teach women.
Okay.
Zerger did?
Good.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, so I ended up starting kickboxing.
Okay.
They would take my money, apparently.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and that's where I met my husband. So, he kicked me in the crotch and it was, love at first sight.
Love at first kick.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, somebody's got to ask Jake the little toe trick, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's where we met at the gym. I got to sit on top of him one time and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I think I want to do this for the rest of my life.
That one time I thought like he maybe had a hard on. He's like, I hate that story because I did it. And it makes me sound like a creep. Yeah. I was like, we're married, so it's okay now.
It's just a story. Don't worry about it.
So yeah, Jake was going through finishing up his master's degree in exercise science. And so we had started dating. And I was just working out with kettlebells.
Okay.
So the guy that he was interning with did kettlebell sport. So kettlebell sport is a sport that was invented by the Russians, and you basically take a kettlebell, which is a metal ball with a handle on it, and you swing it around for like 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I was just working out with them, just doing like
were kettlebells invented by the Russians?
Kettlebells were actually a metric weight that was used for like selling products. So they would weigh like grain or whatever, and so you would have a pood or whatever, which is 24 kilograms that they would utilize to.
So that's how they started off with.
Yeah. And so I guess they were just down at the shipyard and they were just like, hey, guess what we can do with these?
Whoever could toss the thing around was strong as fuck.
Yeah.
When it came out.
Okay.
Like, yeah. And so that originally, so you can go back and find like really old ones and you could tell like because the handle would be like the window opening would be super small. And so you're like, there's no way they could have utilized it like the way we utilize it now.
Yeah.
For that. But that's where it came from, like so they were using it to work out, but its primary job was as a weighing implement to
like, so it was like a ship anchor for the dock.
No. Like if you needed to weigh grain, they would know that this weighs 24 kilograms.
Yeah, okay.
You just jumped to a totally different part. I was like,
you did.
Yeah, I did. Sorry. Yep.
You're high right now.
No, I'm not. I'm
just throw it off the boat.
No, I'm trying.
I think anchors were already invented at that point.
No.
So I didn't need another one of those.
I was thinking, for some reason, I was thinking of, have you, like, it literally looks like a kettlebell that they set on the dock to like keep it from like. I think
you're making shit.
I have no idea.
I will. This is.
You're gonna get online.
I'm gonna get online.
I'm gonna find this.
Continue your story. Continue the story. I'll circle back to this.
So, he basically saw that I was doing kettlebells, and he's like, "Hey, like this is a sport."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't know that this is a sport because nobody knows this is a sport.
Yeah.
And I basically started from there, and I was just doing like, so for kettlebell sport, there's actually a lot of different events, but the primary events are going to be snatch, which is done with a single kettlebell, and you basically swing the bell through your legs and up over your head. And you do that for 10 minutes with one hand switch.
Okay.
And so men compete with a 32 kilogram bell, which is the men's professional division, and women compete with a 24 kilogram bell, which is the women's professional division. And
okay.
So there's snatch, and then there's biathlon, which is jerks, like you would see for an Olympic jerk. You hold two kettlebells and you jerk it overhead.
Yeah.
And then snatch with that. So you do a 10-minute jerk set and then a 10-minute snatch set. Okay. And then there's long cycle, which is like the holy grail of like, this is the hardest one.
Okay.
which is a clean and a jerk. It's basically like doing a burpee, but with a kettlebell.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
same thing as Olympic clean and jerk, except for you're swinging the bells through your legs up to your chest and then jerking them overhead.
Okay.
So, and you do all those for 10 minutes straight. And then however many reps you get in the 10 minutes without setting it down is your score. It's really boring to watch. It's kind of like watching NASCAR.
So it's an endurance thing.
It is an endurance thing. It's endurance lifting.
That's what I was thinking of, but they're not weights or buoys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for some reason I had this stuck in my head from that.
All right. I see it. It looks more like a dog toy.
Okay, well,
like one of those things you jumped on, you know?
Okay, well,
little bouncy ones with the
I don't think they
handles.
make those anymore.
Yeah, probably not.
They're probably dangerous.
yeah.
They don't make anything fun.
Or do you remember those scooters that you rode on in gym that you would sit on and hold and like you would
Crush your fingers.
Oh yeah, those things are so dangerous.
You know, the biggest disappointment is that they don't have dodgeball anymore.
Well, yeah. They
especially
took dodgeball to schools, yeah.
Especially the big rubber balls. You know,
The ones that you really could fling.
fling those, and when they hit you, they hurt. So.
Yeah. Now they have to play with those just foamy balls.
Yeah. They
Which are
call
not
it something
nearly-
else. It's not even dodgeball.
Oh, they have to call it something else.
Yeah, it's something
It's
else
like you can't say you have to say crisscross applesauce
Yeah, I
now.
think so.
It's like, watch out, ball. I think is what that's called now.
Yeah.
Watch out, ball. Full long title.
He's got the best commentary. My kids were playing it. I don't remember what it was, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's basically dodgeball." It's like, "Oh, like what do you use?" The soft little balls.
You know what the Army calls jumping jacks?
What?
Side straddle hops.
Really?
Like they felt like they really need to reinvent like the name for a jumping jack because nobody knows what a jumping jack is, and so side straddle hop. Yeah,
of course. So when did you go into your first competition? Like how long did it take you to want to do?
I had such a good. Sorry, I had such a
Go
good
ahead.
drink there.
Just
Sorry.
let's bring it in.
All right. Well, last one. You know what they call a woman with a penis?
What?
A man.
Okay. You got it.
I had to.
I don't know why that was needed.
I'll cut that out, but like I mean,
He won't.
I don't know if he should.
He won't cut it out. Don't worry.
I
about
found
it.
it was a lot
There's
of
some
fun.
random ass shit going on in this podcast.
Yeah. It's the nut.
It's
That's,
the nut
you know,
club.
so-
That's part of it. Like
Yes.
it's a fitness based podcast, but nobody's gonna
But
sit
you
there.
have to incorporate the dick joke.
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the nut club.
It's
and
I get it.
And you have to keep entertaining like stuff in there because nobody wants to talk about fitness constantly because majority of people, 60% of Americans to be exact, are obese and feel horrible about themselves. So you gotta give a little
I think
comedic
they do
relief in
like
there.
to hear about it because that's why we see all the shit. I mean, I don't know how many like things I watch where like it's like some woman up there that's like prancing around doing her RDLs with the camera behind her.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
a lot of those for sure.
You know, I mean, so people are definitely watching that, even though and women too.
Yeah.
I'm saying not just like
Yeah.
men are like
Yeah.
watching it, but
Yeah.
women watch it like because you know we want to see the skinny models. Like,
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but like, let's bring back the skinny models. Like, I want a model that I know is doing heroin. Like, I want to know that she is struggling and she has not eaten in 5 days.
I think it's gonna come back that
Because
way.
I want to know that she had to work really hard to get that.
People,
we went all the way
appreciate
to
sacrifice.
It's not nearly as impressive. I'm just like, I just go get up on stage and be like, I'm a model now.
Well, they went all the way to like the Lizzo models, and I think it'll come all the way back to the crackheads.
Well,
at a certain point.
There's so much. They're putting so much money into Ozempic now. Like I feel like they have to.
The Ozempic, I mean, that will change
Yeah.
things for sure.
Yeah, like with all the funding with the Ozempic, like they're like, hey man, they're gonna get together and they'll incorporate big groups or whatever. And they're like, hey man, we got to bring skinny bitches back. Like this Lizzo thing's getting a little out of hand. We need to.
You know, the new thing is legging legs.
a leg.
What are those?
No.
That's a thigh gap.
Okay.
Oh no. There's also a new thing with
I was like, legging legs? What the fuck's that?
my wife and I were talking about this the other day. There's these bras that have these little things that make it look like you're like
Nipples?
nipping. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're nipping. So like I don't know. Like personally, like as a married man, I don't think I would ever want my my wife wearing like some
I don't-
nipping bras or whatever. I don't know. I feel like that's more of like an advertisement thing than
I think I'm too old for that.
yeah. I don't know.
We're so used to covering up our bodies. Like,
Mhm.
you should feel shame.
Yeah.
It's a weird world we live in these days.
Just accept it. No. Just feel the shame. Okay. Just
You know, the Ozempic thing it's ironic because Ozempic is like the steroids for weight loss
Mhm.
because you know guys love to like just deny the steroid thing, but Ozempic is the same way because there's just so many people out there these days.
No, I just
using it.
lost it.
No, I just worked really hard and I've just been I've been really good on my diet lately. On you for 10 years, different for 10 years, and all of a sudden You've lost 70 pounds.
Interesting.
That is
Very quickly.
incredible. Yeah, very.
Also, you're still eating pizza.
Yeah. Like, what's the deal here? So it's like, no, I'm not using anything. I swear.
You're like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, let's be real. Like, I don't want to watch football without steroids.
100%.
Oh yeah.
Did you? I mean, do you
Look
remember?
what happened to baseball.
I mean, you probably don't remember, but do you remember like what football players looked like in the 80s?
Yeah.
Sad. That's what they looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadness.
No, nobody puts fear into people like LT did, you know, like Lawrence Thomas, like the linebacker. Like, dude, that dude had to be juiced up. Especially
Also, the money you're making, like, I want to know you're destroying your body.
Yeah.
Like, to
100%.
entertain me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Why not?
Well, yeah, and like look at baseball. Look how much baseball fell off once it started kind of, you know.
Yeah. True. The Mark
Yes.
McGuire days were the glory days that we wanted to see the home runs.
And then
So,
That's what you're for.
Yeah.
then like
You don't go to NASCAR to watch them drive around.
Yeah.
You're going for the wrecks.
yeah,
okay?
yeah, exactly. Or if like UFC, remember UFC?
You're going for the broken tibias.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, when they used to allow steroids, those guys just like gilled up, like juice, literally gilled up, veining like crazy. That's what I enjoyed watching. That's what I liked, you know.
You like the men with the veins?
Yeah, I like the men of the veins, you know, like
No.
every you know, they may be right about a spectrum, you know. But I'm a little bit. I enjoy a you know.
spectrum of your sexuality.
Yeah.
A little fluid on that one.
Yeah. I'm not fluid on it in the fact of that. I'm just like, you know, I
Certain
can
guys'
appreciate.
This home's
no,
getting pretty deep.
no, yeah.
Keep talking.
No, I'll keep going. I'm comfortable with my sexuality. I appreciate a very, you know, masculine man who's just like a predator. Like for example, like Mike Tyson, somebody who was you know, brought up with, you know, an orphan. Nobody really loved him until he found a boxing coach, and he's just like a fucking predator. There's a beauty to that. There's a little bit of a beauty to that. Not in a sexual way, but in like a
He immediately has to follow up. I wasn't
So
thinking.
you know. So you know.
not in a sexual way, but just more like a I don't know, like it's and this is gonna sound horrible, but more like an animal at a zoo way. Like, wow, that's fucking crazy. Like,
Okay. All right.
Like, I just want to watch you. Just let me observe you.
Yeah, let me
That's
just
fair.
yeah.
You know?
So what when did you really start taking kettlebell seriously?
So yeah, the guy he was entering was like, hey, this is competition. And so I started then. I think I did my first competition. I think me and Jake were married. So maybe it was like 2010, maybe 2009, somewhere in there. Now, when I first started doing kettlebell, women were only allowed to do snatch because it's Russian and
Interesting.
they want it to be feminine, I guess. I don't know.
Goddamn communist.
So, yeah. So when I first started, it was just snatch. That was the only event. Now, in the United States, women were starting to do one arm long cycle, which is long cycle with just one bell. And so after I kind of got started, I got hooked up with my current coach, Arseny Zernikov, and I told him like, hey, I want to compete in the professional division with one arm long cycle. And he was just like, no, I'll teach you, but we're going to do two arm.
Mm-hmm.
That was my very awful Russian accent.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
No,
good
it was
at all.
great. It was great.
It wasn't.
Thank you.
I
I knew he was Russian when you did it.
As soon as you, as soon as
I liked it. I was a fan of it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like, we're gonna do two arm long cycle, and well, where am I gonna go compete at? Because there literally is no place you can go compete with two arm long cycle.
Mm-hmm.
He was just like, we'll figure it out, you know. And so I started out just doing like 16 kilogram bells. I think like the first time I did like a 10-minute set, I maybe made 50 reps or something. Which is not very, very many for.
Yeah.
And so my first competition, there was a competition in Austin, Texas, and I had to call the guy and say, hey, I want to come down and do two arm long cycle with the professional weight, like 24 kilogram bells.
Mm-hmm.
Can I do that? Like as basically a sideshow thing, because there's no ranking table for it. Like you can't do it at the world competitions because it wasn't allowed yet.
Yeah.
And so he's like, shit, yeah, like, come down. I'll try and find somebody to do it with you,
Okay.
you know? And so I went down and did it. I did like 38 reps. And so I went to another competition, which was a couple months later. And that competition,
38 reps. Like what's a rep range for you now?
okay, so my best result, which was a world record for about 5 or 6 years, somebody finally beat it.
Asshole.
Younger girl, you know, it's younger girls. So my best result was 83 repetitions
At
in
what
10
weight?
minutes at 2 24-kilogram belts, which is about 105 pounds.
Yeah.
So you clean and jerk those for 10 minutes straight.
Yeah.
So
That's intense.
it sucks.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I know. I can
It
tell.
really sucks. It's like running, but with weights.
Yeah.
It's pretty awful.
What injuries are common with the sport?
I think probably the most common thing is like overuse injuries, you know, maybe with like rotator cuff. A lot of people get like forearm, it not really injuries, but it's basically like just overuse where they'll tendonitis.
Like tennis elbow, but for your forearm almost.
Yeah, it's basically like tennis elbow. And that's because when you have to go drop the bell from overhead, you kind of have to like rotate your hand, and then that makes the bell shift forward, and then it just wants to fall because gravity.
Yeah.
And so if you are physically rotating your hand all the time for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reps, I mean, these muscles and tendons are very small, especially when you're first starting out and they're not like used to it, then people will get stuff like that. There aren't really like a ton of stuff I'd be like, oh yeah, it's really common for people to blow out their knee or something.
Yeah.
Kettlebell sport, I think, is a sport that people can do into a lot older ages.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously the weight will probably start because it's not really that much weight.
Yeah.
You know, 105 pounds is not like a lot.
Yeah. Until you do it for 10 minutes.
Well, until you do it for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But in general, if you're going to have somebody squat 105 pounds, you'd
Sure.
be like, it's 105 pounds.
Yeah.
But, so I think it's something, since it's more endurance based, that you can do for a long time. So I really haven't had a ton of injuries, just small things. I started having some knee issues, but I think that was really more from when I was a catcher when I was younger.
Yeah.
So I have Auscusauters in one knee. And so
Both knees. I never got
you're
it fixed either.
doubly cool.
Yeah.
You get it fixed?
Never got it fixed. I got like big bumps on my knees where
Oh, that's what I have too.
yeah.
Yeah.
People
I'm
like the
never
doctor
gonna
will
be a
see
knee
it or
model.
something, and they're just like, "Did you have slots?" I'm like, I actually didn't know what it was called. I just knew my knees hurt whenever I put my knees on the ground whenever I was a
Mhm.
kid, and I apparently never told my parents. Or something. I don't know. Just ignored it. So
Yeah.
huge like
It's the best way to handle
panic
some
on it, whatever
problems.
it is.
Just not tell anybody
Yeah.
about it. Just
I
deal
just
with it.
ignore it.
I mean, it's the
They
way
might
to
have
go.
ignored me. I don't know.
Yeah, and then just all the years of running, like for the Army. And
Yeah.
I hate running. It's like my least favorite activity.
Yeah.
So kettlebell is my running
So
Okay.
for cardio.
Yeah.
So
take me through your highest high and your lowest low as far as like kettlebell sport.
well, I don't really know that I have a low. When I first, like I said, when I first got started, there was women weren't allowed to do doubles. So there was like a lot of people that were basically talking shit about me because they didn't want me doing doubles.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Okay.
And I mean, there was a bunch of people that would message me, and because I was the only woman, not that there were women that did train with doubles, but there was no women competing.
Yeah.
And so people would message me, or I would be on, because there's like Russian Facebook, which is separate from like our Facebook.
Okay. Yeah.
And so there was like Russians talking shit about me because
Yeah.
they didn't want me doing doubles.
Really?
They're like, oh, it's going to damage your breasts. I'm like, bitch, I barely got breasts now. So like, I don't know how much worse it could get. They're like, well, what about your internal organs, like your ovaries and your,
Wow.
because like when you're holding the bells, your elbows rest
Sure.
on your, basically on your stomach.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you have internal organs too. What about yours?
Yeah.
So there was a bunch of, I guess, negative stuff that was kind of like, because when you're not big on social media, trying to deal with like people saying a bunch of negative things, but it's like rough.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I could ever be an influencer.
No.
I don't think I could make it.
All the shit talkers drive me nuts.
Oh, yeah. So there was stuff like that. And then finally, I went to go to a competition, And I registered because they didn't have any women's double. And I'm like, well, I want to compete. So I registered in the men's division as I registered as a woman, but in the men's division. Because most sports, if they don't have your sport in women's, you could compete in the men's with them. So like wrestling, before there was women's wrestling programs, the women just had to compete with the men.
Yeah.
So I signed up for that. I signed up as a woman. My name is obviously Kimberly. So that's not really a man's name usually.
Yeah.
I guess the guy didn't look at it. So I show up in Vegas to go to this competition at the Arnold's. And he was like, oh, you can't do this. Because there's a couple different kettlebell organizations. One's the IUKL, which is one of the large governing bodies. And then there's the WKSF. So this particular competition was being run underneath the IUKL, and they're very strict.
Okay.
So I show up and he's like, you can't do that. You can't compete. I cannot let you compete in the men's division. I'm like, well, motherfucker, you took my money and then I fucking flew out here. I was like, so you better fucking figure it out or you're going to have a problem. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I was like, I'm going to go get some bells and I'm going to lift right outside. Cause have you ever been to the Arnold's? It's they have a bunch of different, there's a bunch of different little sports competitions going on in a big room. And so I was like, I'm going to lift right when the men are going right outside of the thing and I'm going to film it. And I'm just going to make you look like a jackass.
Yeah. It's a good way to do it.
Yeah. So he's like, well, I have to think about it. I'm like, well, you better figure it out because it's tomorrow morning. And also I was there. He, I won't say his name, but I went to go weigh in and he was like, oh, it was just me and him inside of this curtained off room. And he's like, are you going to strip down? And I was like, no, I'm fat. I'm at the top of the weight class. I don't need to strip down. He's like, oh, too bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of those.
Where's Jake at? He was getting his stuff ready for jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So, but I was like, where's he at? It's supposed to be protecting me or something.
Yeah.
This goes back to the bear thing. There's another one.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that you think about it, there's a lot more of these encounters.
There's that kind of leads me to my next question, which was, both you and your husband do what you do at high levels, him running a gym and maintaining a gym, you within your sport and whatnot. How do you balance your family?
I don't.
Each other, making sure you're supporting each other and doing what needs to be done for mutual success of each other and your family and the growth of your son.
Yeah. So, we own a gym, Fox Fitness. We teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing, kettlebell. But the primary part of the gym is jiu-jitsu. And so Jake has always run that 80 to 90% on his own. And then, since I'm in the Army that, it's kind of my second job that I go do. So I probably work 80 hours a week easy.
Yeah.
And so people are like, I don't have time. And I'm like, I literally don't have time. I leave the house, at 7:30 in the morning. We take Liam to school. I leave work at 5 or 6 o'clock. Then I go straight over to the gym. Mm-hmm. I train. I teach a class, and then we leave the gym at 8:30 and go home. And then I make Liam dinner at 8:30 at night. And probably terrible parents for that because he basically stays up till 10 o'clock so we can spend time with him. We eat dinner and just hang out for a little bit and decompress. And then I go lay with him, and we always I always read him a story before bed. And so we've done that since he was a baby. And so now he reads me stories sometimes, which is but he'll be like, you're going to come lay with me, and I'll come hug him, whatever. So anyways, I really rely on my calendar a lot, but I just know that I just don't have any extra time, So my days are really all pretty much the same. Monday through Friday, I'm doing that, 7:30 to 8:30. And then on the weekends, we still go into the gym, usually that's where I was earlier today, 9 to 2 o'clock to teach class, to train, to clean the gym. Because if people are like, oh man, I wish I owned a gym. I could just work out whenever I wanted to. And it's really not like that at all. Jake really struggles it's like if you have a gym at your house, it makes it really hard to
with
go
a bunch of kids in it,
With a bunch of what?
With a bunch of kids in it, always messing it up.
Always messing it up. Those damn kids. They're assholes. But I know he really struggles to get his mind wrapped around like when he's going to work out, because there's not really a set time for him.
Yeah.
And he could always think of other things that he could go do
For sure.
to fix, to clean or whatever at the gym.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't suggest anybody to do my lifestyle. I would not recommend it. But yeah, I mean, we're just kind of always go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And when COVID happened and we were at home, I was on a struggle bus because I'm like, what the fuck are people supposed to do during the day? Like, what? I mean, are we just drinking all day? Like, what am I doing?
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we totally did drink like a bunch during COVID. Like, I was like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah.
Because even on the weekends, when in the afternoon, we come home and then we're working on house stuff that we haven't got to do during the week. And then we'll have a couple hours in the evening that we are like doing something.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm just like super high anxiety, but like that's how I run pretty much everything. Like I throw so much shit into my day.
That was my next question was like, do you feel like you do that on purpose or like just
I have a mental,
for your like, for your like, for your mental sanity, so to say?
I honestly, I just have really high anxiety. And so I do throw just a bunch of things in there. I am notorious for like picking up new hobbies.
Yeah.
So like I paint, now I'm crocheting, and you know, like I just constantly like filling gaps in time with things that I'm now working on. So I do really get pretty good at all those things. So I get very focused on
you take like an almost autistic approach at it.
You're supposed to say that. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay to say. It's okay to say that now. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Are we bringing it back?
No,
it's a good thing.
It's a good thing now. Everybody, you're supposed to. You're supposed to pick a disorder that you have, and you just run with it, and then it's okay. Anything that you do that's out of the ordinary or weird or like maybe not socially acceptable, you just blame it on that. You're fine.
I would say I probably have ADD. Like I was never diagnosed, but I'm sure.
Well, there you go. You probably do. Yeah, there you go. There's one. What? Just get a couple more while you're at it.
I'm working on. I'm working on this. When I get out of the army, so I can have some disability.
Yeah.
I'm autistic.
Yeah. I got some TISM, some ADD.
I've got this knee pain.
Yeah. My back. I don't know.
I can't get it up anymore.
Yeah.
I know guys got it easy. They can just be like,
hey, maybe you could.
Is that a disability?
Yeah, it is. It is.
You could identify that you can't get it up anymore.
That doesn't work for the army.
I don't know. It's leaning that direction now. Though.
It is, but it doesn't really. I would have to do a lot of paperwork to identify.
I got you.
Yeah, it's a complicated. You can do it, but it is a very complicated process.
I got you. It's more if you really, really, really care about it. Like the same type of people that like would go at it with some flight attendant on an airplane about like their pronouns would be the same person who would like
he said go at it, and I was like,
I didn't know what he was talking about.
This jumped to like somebody having sex with a flight
attendant. Have you guys seen that video where that like this like trans person refuses to go, like on their ticket it says he, or it says she, but she's like, I'm a he. He's like, well, then you can get off the plane since you're not the person that's on this ticket and whatnot. So they're literally just going back and forth,
You never know if like that shit's real or not, though, because there's so much stuff that's like staged.
Yeah, no, it looked just like a normal
how did you
lady.
Get your phone out in time to film this, because I can never get my phone out in time to film something funny. It always passes.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. Or I'm just like, I don't even think to grab my phone. I'm like, I've been like engulfed in what's going on. Like, I want to be part of the action. Like, fuck bringing this thing out. I want to be part of it myself. Like, don't put this little screen in between it. Like, I can do that on TikTok.
I just assume most things are fake, especially if they have it out there and like they're watching. It's like a selfie kind of thing. Like, nobody's
like the girls that set up their camera and they're like, trick
this guy's watching
like,
or they like trick their boyfriend into something, like get a reaction out of him. I'm like, did you not see your camera sitting there?
Yeah, where they're in the car. Yeah, and you're like, how can you not see the camera sitting upright? Like, it's pretty obvious. If I got in, I'd be like, what's up with that fucking mom?
Where's your recording? It's sort of weird.
Yeah, well, might have to have Jake.
Not that I don't watch them.
Might have to have Jake.
Some I still get a kick out of.
Yeah, might have to have Jake like try one of these on you as like a social experiment to see if you would actually identify the phone.
I might not. Honestly, like I'm super distracted like 80% of the time. He's like, "Are you listening to me?" Yes. I will take the stuff out of the oven when I get home, and as soon as I get home, I forget.
Dude, I just feel like it's everybody. Like, I feel like everybody's distracted. Everybody has so much going on all the time that everybody's ADHD, and they just try to put a syndrome to it, when in reality we're just.
It's because when we stopped watching Mr. Rogers, like it just kept it out there nice and slow to feed it to you. And as soon as YouTube came along and social media, where you can just click, 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 and just keep changing what you're watching, we had to take Liam off of YouTube.
Yeah.
Like when he was when he was a young, he would be such an asshole when we would let him watch YouTube, because he could just watch it for hours and hours and hours, because he could just keep changing.
Yeah.
I've lost my interest. Go to the next thing. Versus if we just let him watch a Netflix show or a show, that he would watch it for 30 minutes and then he would just get up and go do something else and then come back to it. And so I still haven't, he's been asking to have YouTube back, and now he's like 10.
Yeah.
And I'm still like, man, I don't want to. Also, kids watch kids play with toys. And I'm like, you have that fucking toy in your room. You could just go play with it.
Yeah, no. They have, there's been studies that actually have found that there is similar, chemistry in, children these days, brains, as to drug addicts. Just because they're getting,
for sure.
that dopamine hit every time they're getting, TikTok video or YouTube or any of this stuff is just instant. And a lot of the behavior issues you're seeing is same things addicts do when they withdraw from something and whatnot. So I find that very interesting on how that's going to affect our long-term attention span, because I already see it happening in our generations and older. Even the oldest ones are the worst about it, the phones and whatnot, having their attention span being affected by the newness to social media and whatnot. They're the worst about time management with their phone, or balancing it and whatnot. So
well, you can easily get lost in an hour of just
doom scrolling.
Yep.
Yeah, I get it. I let my kids watch YouTube.
You're a bad person.
I have 3 of them too.
It was really the best thing that we could have done.
Mm-hmm.
So funny story, when we were when this whole YouTube thing was going on, Liam he was potty trained, but he was young enough that, he might still have accents. So I guess he's 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
I'm really bad with trying to remember time frames. So we were trying to get him to watch Mr. Rogers, because it is it allows you time to process what's going on, because of how slow he was at moving through the show.
Yeah.
But Liam did not like Mr. Rogers at all.
Yeah.
And so Jake basically made a deal with him. He's like, look, you watch one Mr. Rogers and then you can watch, 2 of your shows.
Sure.
And it was just to kind of break up. But Liam did not like it. So the one day that Jake made him watch Mr. Rogers, Liam shit his pants on purpose out of spite.
How funny.
Sat there, shit his pants, waited for Jake to come back, and then he's like, I don't want to watch Mr. Rogers. It was hilarious. Well, it really wasn't funny to Jake at the time, but it was hilarious. Back. Yeah.
You're you're going to be a goddamn serial killer.
Yeah, just I'm going to shit my pants. When I go home from work, just shit your pants.
That'll teach you.
Shit your pants. Yeah. So,
you never told us, though, what happens with the Arnold competition.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. We got off track talking about
I know. That's why I brought it back.
Sex with airline workers or something.
Yeah.
So the last minute, he's like, okay, he's like, I'm going to let you lift, but you're going to lift in a different division, and we're just going to call it vintage strength. He made up a new division.
Yeah.
So I'm back there getting ready, and I'm obviously the only woman that's going to be doing this, because there's no other women doing it.
Yeah.
And I can hear him over the intercom, and he's just so condescending. He's like, Kimberly Fox is going to come out here and show us what women can do. And you're like,
fuck you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went out there, and I got this was just a couple months after my previous competition. So I got 39 reps, and somewhere along there, the places inside the United States started adding, these double bell lifts. And so I'm posting my results, and I want to be like, I was only doing really good because I was the only person. So, I mean, I'm breaking records, but they're all my own records because nobody else is doing it.
Yeah.
And so I had a jump start on getting
breaking
better
new
at
ground.
it. Huh?
I said you're breaking new ground. You're a groundbreaker. You're a trailblazer.
Trailblazer,
That's
I guess.
right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I had a jump start because I started, 6-7 months before everybody else kind of was starting to dabble in when they were going to start allowing competitions for it. So I think the first big comp that was in the United States, and this was right before they started allowing it at like the world competitions, the IKO, which is a organization here in the United States. It's not really a governing body. It's just like an organization, like a AGF or something like that.
Right.
And so he hosted a big world competition, and there's probably like 200 lifters there. And somehow we managed to get 12 platforms full of women lifting these two 24-kilogram bells, which was really cool. It was the most women you've ever seen like doing this event. And I think shortly after that is when finally they were like, well, we want more money. IAKL's like, we got to add these events in. And so they started adding them in to allow, first they just added long cycle. And then later on, they added biathlon. I don't think they still don't have tables for a women's biathlon, like because there's ranking tables. Just they judge like level of proficiency. So like MSIC is Master Sport International class, which is like the highest ranking that you can get besides like honored Master of Sport, which they only give really to Russians because you have to compete in so many Russian competitions. And obviously, like I'm not there competing. So
yeah, makes sense.
So then they finally added it in. And so, I mean, I guess that was because of me.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is very cool.
They did that similar in bodybuilding when they used to only be bodybuilding. It was like the main sport, and then they had men and women's bodybuilding, and that was it. And then they brought in women's figure, which is kind of a toned down version of bodybuilding where they didn't pose the same way and they were smaller, more feminine. And then they bring in women's bikini class, which is like not really bodybuilding anymore. It's really just like regular women that are in shape for the most part. And then they brought in men's physique, which was then
that's the board shorts.
The board shorts division, and
that's my least favorite one.
Like you don't have to really train your legs. Like it's not a legs competition anymore.
That's why they got the board shorts.
Yeah,
on.
And so the legs aren't as important. And then they brought in
it's like American style kickboxing where you can't kick below the belt.
Yeah. So they like. But it was, it's a money grab. How many people can we get competing? And they have, the men's classic physique, which is in between physique and bodybuilding. And then now they have women's wellness division, which is in between bikini and
wellness division.
Wellness. It's like for the girls that have like very muscular legs or something. They're going to have big legs up on stage. They don't quite fit bikini because they're too muscular for bikini. They're not really physique or, figure or physique or body. Bodybuilding's kind of gone now. Bodybuilding. It's too masculine.
Too much.
A little too much. So they brought it back down a little bit. And so, there's just a million of them these days. So I think it, after a while, it dilutes too much.
Yeah. Kettlebell has the same issue. Initially, like it was really just those 3 lifts.
Yeah.
You have biathlon long cycle biathlon long cycle and then snatch only. And now there's marathon or half marathon, full marathon. There's like pentathlon, which is like involves like 5 different lifts. Like one's like a clean and a press. And there's just like a lot of stuff, which is, there's a lot of organizations that were trying to get kettlebell into the Olympics. But the problem is that we don't really have enough kids that lift. Russia does.
Yeah.
And Ukraine does, but other countries don't. And especially in the IUKL, all the first place people are Russians.
Yeah.
That's why one of the reasons why they took softball out of the Olympics, because the U.S. was the only one ever winning. Like, why are you having this competition? It's not like more equal.
Mm-hmm.
And so especially for the IUKL, like it's always a Russian up as number 1 because that's what they do from children. And so they've been doing it for so long, and they're sponsored by the state to pay them.
Kind of like wrestling.
Well, except that they're being paid like the they're basically in the Army, and the Army's paying them, but that's what they're doing. They're competing in kettlebell.
Yeah, they do the same thing for wrestlers in Russia too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
I thought you meant just wrestlers.
Yeah,
So,
no,
that's how it works.
no, yeah, they do the same thing for
What happens when they don't do it?
It's like that for any of their national.
They go to the gulags.
Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, they become cellmates with Brittany Griner. I seen
Yeah.
some lady with like a free Brittany thing on there. Like, she's already free. Like, why don't you take that bumper sticker off already?
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking like Free Britney, you know.
I was assuming it was Britney Spears.
Yeah.
we're talking about.
I don't know. Maybe
It probably was.
Maybe it
Britney
was
Spears.
Maybe it
Britney
was.
Spears.
Maybe it was Britney Spears. I'm just too Gen Z.
For conservatorship.
She got 'em over there dancing with knives.
Yeah, it did. Hey,
Something happened with her. I don't know.
she was a child star.
Too much Dan Schneider.
She was also, she wasn't on Nickelodeon. She was
Mickey
on
Mouse Clubhouse.
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Yeah. Which I'm sure that there's
Yeah.
probably similar stuff
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
Yeah.
you know, those kids like go, I mean, if you, what's her name? Drew Barrymore. Like,
Yeah.
she tells like all kinds of crazy stories, but when she was a child,
Oh,
she was an ET, she was like 5.
Yeah.
And when she was a child and kind of growing up to be like 10, 11, 12, 13, and that she was like drinking. And,
I
like,
didn't even
doing
realize
drugs,
that
like
that
with
was-
like the cast of, and you're like,
Crazy.
at 10?
Yeah.
I honestly did not realize it was Drew Barrymore in E.T. I didn't know that was Drew.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I had
Okay.
no idea.
She looks the same.
She does.
Like, she really be like, yeah, that's her.
Yeah, for sure.
Some people you'd be like, oh, that was you as a baby. You look like every other baby.
Yeah.
But she's got a very like distinct face.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I forgot what we were talking about.
Well, let's
Russians
talk.
were getting paid.
Yeah, how
Oh,
Russians were
oh,
getting
yeah,
paid
so-
and whatnot.
I'm actually one of the, I think I'm the only, but I might not be, so don't quote me on that. But I'm one of the only people who is placed first at an IKL competition over like that it wasn't a Russian in first place.
Yeah.
And honestly, at the beginning, it's just because the Russians didn't have any girls competing in alongside or in any double bell sports
Yeah.
because they didn't push it, and so almost they only had snatchers.
Yeah.
Now they're really good. Like the world record for snatch in the 24 kilograms, something like 220 reps
Really?
in 10 minutes. So it's like you have one hand switch, so you're doing 110 repetitions over 20 reps a minute for 5 minutes straight on one hand, switching hands and doing it again.
Gruesome.
So snatch is brutal.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, your forearms, they're not really like made for like endurance. So you
Yeah.
really have to build it up.
Yeah.
And if you stop snatching for any amount of time, just like if you stop, you know, working out your forearms will get small.
Yeah.
And so it takes like a lot for them to build that up.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
yeah, when I first got started, I saw a woman that was snatching. I was like, man, it looks so like pretty. Like,
Yeah.
And that's kind of maybe more interested in like starting it. It's like, so that's what I want to do. But I'm really not built for snatch.
Really? What's the difference?
Well, one, I don't have very big hands.
Okay.
I've got small hands for as tall as I am.
Yeah.
I got these little like carny hands.
Okay.
You know, it's only like a size 6 glove. You know.
Yeah.
And so there's like all kinds of little advantages in kettlebell sport, just like in any other sport that you're just like naturally born with. You know, if you're
Yeah.
going to be an Olympic level runner, you were probably naturally fast to begin with.
For sure.
You know, and then somebody just made you faster.
Yes. Yeah.
So some of the advantages are for snatching is if you have a large hand because you're able to get your hands farther around the kettlebell.
Yeah.
And so if you're able to overlap your fingers, then you can like basically lock your thumb over top of the handle and it kind of hinge like it's kind of similar if you were doing hook grip.
Yeah.
And so it like locks your fingers into place.
Okay.
And so I can't do that. Like my thumb barely reaches my finger.
Really?
And so that's a disadvantage.
Sure.
Some of the other advantages are in lockout. Some people, they're just because of the way their arms are built, their arms almost look like they're kind of like concave. So they'll come out and like this.
Mhm.
So like almost like you're double jointed.
Yeah.
And so when your arms like that, it's kind of like an arch. And if it's like that, then you don't have to really lock out your arm because once it gets to that position, it's kind of stuck.
Yeah.
So that's an advantage. And so people that have some of these advantages, like it's just easier for them. And so you tend to see be like, he's got like the perfect type of lockout just
Yeah.
because he was born that way.
Yeah.
kind of like there's different like advantages for every sport, like swimmers, like swimmer
Yeah, like if
bodies.
you have, unusually long arms, like you're going to be faster than the person that's got these little stubby things,
Yeah.
you know.
I got you.
So there's little advantages in there, and so there's another organization, the WKSF, which was created against the IUKL because they just didn't like the way the Russians were running the sport or whatever they felt like that wasn't right, know. And so they created this other organization, and there are 0 Russians that lift at this organization because they're not allowed to.
Really?
They can't go because they can only go to the IUKL because it's like that's theirs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I used to only lift at the IUKL, and now I've I really kind of switched because the IUKL World Competition is in October, and it's kind of a bitch, like trying to get somebody to pick my kid up from school and all this.
Yeah.
And so when I switched over, WKS is in the summer. It's in June. Okay. So I can just leave my kid with my mom, and hopefully she doesn't damage him.
Let him watch YouTube the whole time.
Yeah.
He does watch YouTube Rotocross. I do know that.
Yeah.
It's grandparents video.
She gets him the smallest. She always gets him toys, and it's always like the smallest fucking toys.
Really?
It's all the shit that you could step on. You're like, why are all these little toys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I basically running out of data here. Sure. Doing off of a thing. I just wanted to get some closing thoughts out of you on some advice you may have to people who may be getting and may be interested in getting into the sport of kettlebell or joining
the military,
special forces.
It's turned into a recruiting.
Okay,
well, so
closing thoughts.
We'll just start with the military side. I've been in for 21 years. We didn't talk about this, but I'm a command sergeant major now, which is, I did not plan on making it this far where I didn't plan on being in longer than 6 years. So it's a really interesting dynamic when you've gone all this time in a job and you finally make it like to the top.
Yeah.
Because only like 1% of people make it to that level.
Yeah.
So I think, in my personal opinion, like, especially for the National Guard, it's something like for everybody. Mm-hmm. It offers the ability for you to continue to grow, as well as leadership experience that you just really can't get anywhere else because the Army is so young. I'm going to retire. I'm eligible to retire next year.
Okay.
So there's no job you're going to go work in that you're going to be 25 years old and be in charge of 40 people.
Yeah.
Or be 25 years old and be in charge of a whole company, 100 people.
Yeah.
So it offers you that level of experience that you really learn how to lead, because some people are natural leaders, but you really have to learn like what your niche is and how you're going to lead people and, get people to get to the goal that you're trying to get them to, because it's not just all like, go do it or else.
Sure.
Like you have to make people like want to do it, want to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one huge benefit of it. Along with it, it pays for your schooling, which I did go get a bachelor's degree and master's degree, and they paid for all that stuff. Nice. So, and on the kettlebell side, it's a really small niche sport. I don't know I know why there's not that many people in it, but it's really hard. It's mentally hard. And so you can train up to lift the bells, but it is like just, you want to quit like the whole time you're doing it, just because it's just brutally hard when you're actually pushing yourself to the limit to get the most reps you can get. And it's just you standing there feeling like all the awfulness, just trying to suffer through it. Be like, I can just get one more rep. And I think what I really like most about kettlebell is that it's so mentally engaging. Just like if you're going to paint or if you're going to do something that's just required like a lot of your brain to focus on something. And so when I do it, I just forget about all the other stressors.
Yeah.
When you get done, we call it like tired body, clear mind. And so, and it's like that when you do a really hard workout at the gym and you're just super focused on what you're doing, you get done and you're just like, oh man, You're not thinking about like the bill that's due or the project you still haven't completed. It's just a reset, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there really is not a lot of kettlebell places. We're the only one in Kansas. I don't think there's anything in Oklahoma. So it is very niche, but you do burn like 700 or 800 calories per workout. So it is very high endurance, like calorie burning. So if you want to lose weight, like it's
plug yourself up. Tell us where to find you.
Oh, okay. So, you can find us at Fox Fitness. BJJ.com is where our gym is. We're located in Wichita, Kansas.
It's a great looking website, by the way.
It's a great looking website. Is that your plug for you?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, if you go to foxfitnessbjj.com, it lists out, all of our times. You can also reach out to me on Instagram at Kettlebell Kim Fox if you're looking to get started for online training or learning how to do it. And then on Facebook, I'm just like, nobody uses Facebook anymore anyway, but just Kimberly Fox. Well, that's probably usually really what I'm finding for kettlebell. So anymore, I do have some kids that train and compete. I've got one little girl. She's like 11. She's a beast. Really? If I can just keep her around, like past the boys stage. Mm-hmm. I had her sister, and she was also really good. And then she turned like 16, and she found boys, and I was just like,
it's always
all that work I did for nothing.
That will happen. Yeah.
So I'm hoping maybe like I can hold on to her.
Keep her focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. That was great chat.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
People are going to be like, what did y'all even talk about? I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Everything. We talk about everything.
We go everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Awesome.
They're like, who was she?
Yeah. We got through that.
If you didn't know, like I've been doing kettlebell for such a long time that I am a world champion. Yep. I have multiple world records for kettlebell sport. I'm the only woman to lift 32 kilogram bells, which is the men's professional weight, in competition, which was awful.
Yeah,
I wanted to die.
Yeah.
So I think I did 31 or 32 reps. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
So I got to try to get it all in before I'm too old.
The Kim Fox, everybody.
That's right.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys for cranking one out from that club.
That's right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Whoa.